So good morning, Ms. Cisneros, and welcome to Johnny Jump Drive's Student News.
I'm glad to be here and excited to clarify any questions you might have.
Okay, first question. What were some of the difficulties growing up as a female with 6 other brothers in a Mexican family?
My childhood was rough. I was an outcast within my own family. My brothers did not want to play with me because they felt that it was beneath them to do so. I was mostly ignored by my father. I do not blame my father for that. I blame the tradition that made my father act in such a manner. My father invested more time and commitment into my brothers because my brothers had their fate of greatness already written by my father and the traditional values held by my culture.
Could you provide an example of how your father disregarded you?
I just like how my father told people in Spanish that he has 7 sons when I existed too. I would tell him, "No, Papa, it's 6 sons and 1 daughter." But it's not like he cared. I felt alone, but that is what opened me up to my imagination and creativity, helping me find literature, and I loved it. Then after I graduated with my degree and was a professor, my father would label me a maestra, a teacher, and not profesora, a professor. I felt degraded, but that did not deter me from writing and trying to show my father that my gender does not define me.
We were notified that you received a degree in English. Your father must have thought highly of you.
Trust me, that was not what it looked like. My father sent me to college so that I can find a husband. I was insulted, but then again, I was able to master the English language and start my writing career. I pursued what I loved, not find someone to love. But that disappointed my father.
Were there any other reasons to why you pursued a career in writing?
Yes, I wrote novels and worked for awards for my father. I did it to show him that his daughter is capable of doing great things. I may not have graduated from medical school like one of my brothers, but I did earn 2 national endowments, a guest professorship at Berkeley, and had my book published by a New York publishing house. Not necessarily. I mentioned that my father represents the public majority, that majority being people who are uninterested in reading. I want to show the world that a woman, no matter how repressed they are, is still valuable and can accomplish great things.
Were there any instances of your father approving something that you did?
Yes, 2 years after my father had a stroke, I visited my whole family in Chicago for Christmas, and one of my books was finally translated into Spanish. My father was reading the book, and it seemed like he really enjoyed reading it. He understood all the humor and messages that were embedded in the book. He then asked me to get more copies to pass out to the whole family. I finally felt like my father had accepted me.
Before we leave, there still is a question lingering in my mind about the only daughter. How were you able to create meaning in text from your writing?
I wrote out my whole journey as an only daughter in my family, where I was only viewed as an object with the only objective was to marry a good man. I wrote a story of how that girl worked hard, graduated with a degree in English, won many awards, and finally was able to gain recognition from her father. This sends a message of empowerment to all women that are seen as not as capable of being something more than their opposite gender. To specify my use of language, I'll go over my text, Only Daughter. I use specific references on what challenges I faced throughout my life as a woman. I mentioned how I was viewed as an outcast by my brothers and how my father did not care for my education, but only wanted me to find a man to marry. This is how I reached out to my audience, which is women, and it is also how I was able to fulfill my purpose. My purpose in writing Only Daughter was to inspire other women that they are capable of greater things. That is why I included my inspirational story, with the use of inspirational tone, of course, of where even though my family rejected me for my gender, I worked hard regardless of that fact to prove to everyone, especially my father, that I am capable of so much more. Now I sit here with a legacy, but that would not have been possible if I had conformed to the limitations that were put on me as a woman.
A truly inspirational story indeed. Tune in next time to Johnny Jump Drive Student News, where we interview Vladimir Putin. Thank you. Think of our show today.
Yes.